welcome to MMA Bang, the best MMA show around the world. My name's Mighty, and I'll be your host for this evening. I apologize in advance. I am having one hell of a time this evening. My allergies are killing me, but I'm going to make it through this, even if it kills me. Wait, isn't that what I said? My allergies are killing me, so. In any case, let's do this. This past weekend, we had the twofer. Friday night, we had Bellator Texas. Main event, LC Davis against Joe Warren. Kind of went like I anticipated. It was the battle of the grinders. So Joe Warren wins that case. He is an ultimate grinder. He is the self-proclaimed baddest man on the planet. Okay, whatever you say there, Mr. Warren. But in any case, he gets the old unanimous decision nod and dethrones LC Davis from his fight against him. I don't know if that's actually a dethroning or not, but he beat him nonetheless. So, in any case, co-main event, a little more interesting fight, Kendall Grove versus Joey Beltran, both UFC veterans. You know, I thought whoever wanted it more would be the winner of this, and guess what? It looks like Kendall wanted it more. So, kudos to him. The one thing I will say about this fight that could be an interesting concept, his prior fight to this was against Brandon Housey in Temecula, and he lost that fight, unfortunately, for Kendall. But Brandon's fighting this month, on my birthday, by the way, if you want to know. And according to Scott Coker MMA Math, maybe a rematch? Maybe. If Brandon beats, I think he's fighting Cavalcante, I think is who he's fighting, for the title. He's getting his title back because it was stripped because he did not make weight when he fought Brandon, so now it's kind of like a free title, so he's getting back what was his anyway, kind of, well, assuming he wins. So assuming he wins and he stays undefeated, maybe that sets up for the rematch against Kendall. Interesting. Kendall has a big name as far as Bellator goes. He's been around a long time, and based upon his last performance, he got the TKO over Joey, so in MMA math, it probably makes sense. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. So stay tuned. You heard it from me first. That's my theory. I haven't heard anything about that. That is my theory, and my theory alone, unless some of you other people were thinking that too. And then I guess it's our theory, so we can stay together as a group of people. I am slightly delirious tonight, so just keep with me, folks. There will be a quiz later. So the next night, Saturday, we had UFC Fight Night Japan, headlined by the big boys, Roy Nelson and Josh Barnett. You know what? For Josh Barnett, I'm not sure where this is going to put him. He's 1-1 in his last two fights, and I don't know if he's really going to climb up the ladder quite much after this win over Roy, but we'll see what happens for the heavyweight division. You never know. You never know with the heavyweight division in the UFC. As far as Roy Nelson goes, he's only won one fight in his last 6, and this is his third loss in a row. So he needs to change something, assuming that they don't cut him. Because a lot of the times it's 3 and out, right? I know that Dana, well, I don't know, but from what I've seen and what I've heard, Dana and Roy don't always get along. But this is what I think. I think, hey, you call up Mr. Mike Dolce, the Dolce Diet, and say, Mike, hook a brother up. Go to 205. People have been saying this for a long time. Dana is one of them. I think he can make 205 easily. I'm not talking about cutting 205 in a weight camp, in a training camp. I'm talking about taking off like 6 to 9 months, doing a legitimate diet regimen, losing the weight, going down all the way to maybe even 200, and then building some muscle back up, you know, and then cutting back during training camp. That's what I would do. That's what I would suggest, but that's just my opinion. I think Roy still has a little bit left in the tank. He has an underrated ground game. He still has some serious power in his hands, and his jaw, I think it still could hold up pretty good. I mean, it's definitely taken some abuse over the last 2 years, but I think he still has a couple fights left in him, and some legitimate fights. If he goes down to 205, I just think he'll be so much better. His gas tank is always suspect at heavyweight, and I think it's because he carries all that extra belly around. Now, I know how it is, you know. I see how it is. You know, I have some sympathy for the man. So that's what I suggest, but who am I? I'm just a jackass that likes MMA and watches shows and then tells you guys about them, and then you watch my show, all 13 of you, and then that's how it goes. But in any case, that's what we had this past weekend, UFC Fight Night Japan. Now, talking about news and rumors, Johnny Bones Jones back at it again. Actually, not so much back at it again, but the conclusion of his ordeal from earlier in the year, which was his hit and run incident with the pregnant lady and fleeing the vehicle and yada yada yada. Anyways, no jail time. Are you surprised? I mean, really, are you surprised? Some people were actually surprised. I don't know if I was surprised per se. I don't think anything that they could have said really would have surprised me one way or another. I just chalk it up for whatever. It's a celebrity, big name. You know, I'm not saying this is what happened, but you know, handshakes behind closed doors in the hallways and the alleys, things happen. I'm not saying that's what happened, but you know how it is. And this is kind of interesting. All this happens, and then the light heavyweight title is on the line this weekend. We'll get to that in a minute, though. But, you know, things happen for a reason. So we'll see what happens. That's what social media was on fire about this past few days. Mr. Johnny Bones Jones doing his thing again. You know, honestly, this is the time where he can shine. He can take this, rise above, show everybody he's learned from this, and make it a learning experience. It's only a failure if you do the same thing or you don't learn from the experience. Take it, run with it, do something good with it. So my attitude or love-hate relationship for Jon Jones has gone back and forth. I would not discredit him as a fighter. The dude is phenomenal, for sure. If not the best, for sure one of the best that we've ever seen. So it's just his antics outside the ring, which always led a bad taste in my mouth. So now he can really shut the haters down and just say, look, I learned from this experience and now I'm going to rise above. But we'll see what happens. I hope that's the situation, but only time will tell. The other thing that's still burning hot on social media is the Free Nick Diaz movement. Yep, it's still going strong. The petition that they have going for him, trying to get that ban lifted, it's over halfway there. I believe it needed 100,000 signatures, and it's over 50,000. And that's the last time I checked. I'm not sure what that does if they get all the signatures, if that lifts the 5-year ban from Nevada State Athletic Commission or what have you. But in any case, it's interesting to see all the people behind him supporting it. That's cool. You know, I can respect that. I'm not saying that I condone using drugs, and I'm not saying that he shouldn't have got punished. It's just, I think the punishment was a little severe, and it's nice to see that people are backing him up. That's all I'm saying. Whether you agree with it or not, that is your personal choice. I'm just saying it's nice to see the love. There's too much hate. Let's show the love. There's plenty of haters out there. I got them. It's like haterade just poured on me like a shower. So in any case, you know what though? According to Stipe, that means you're doing something right. If you got haters, you're doing it right. So obviously I must be doing something right. So that's good. So let's get into this weekend. We have UFC pay-per-view this coming Saturday, headlined by Alexander Gustafsson against the current light heavyweight champion, Daniel DC Cormier. This is his first title defense. There's 3 fights on this fight card I will talk about, and I'll tell you right now, these 3 matchups, in my mind, I don't know, maybe they're farther apart on the statistics or the odds, but in my mind, they're 3 pretty close fights. Let's start off with fight number 3, which is the prior to the co-main event, and that is Sugar Rashad Evans against Ryan Bader. Man, you know, if Rashad was active, and this was a couple years ago, I think I very easily take Rashad, but he hasn't fought. By the time this fight comes up Saturday, he hasn't fought damn near 2 years. And ring rust is real. It is real. No matter how hard you train, unless you're like the old shoot-a-box camp, you're not going full speed because you don't want to be getting knocked down, getting concussions when you're sparring, because that's just a little ridiculous. Although, tell that to the shoot-a-box camp. So in any case, you know, Rashad's only lost 3 times. 2 of them are champions. Well, one of them took the belt from him, and that's when he did the stanky leg with Machida. And then he lost against Jon Jones, but who doesn't lose against Jon Jones? And then he lost against Nogueira, which Nogueira's no slouch. That was actually kind of an odd fight, if I remember. They were both kind of gassing out. It looked like a pillow fight type. I don't know. But in any case, he only has 3 losses, right? So Bader, 4 losses. The guy that broke Tito Ortiz's record for his 5-year losing streak. Yeah, that guy. The guy that got guillotined. But you know what? Right now he's on a tear. I think his 4-fight win streak. So he's definitely way more active than Sugar. And he has something to prove. And I know he really wants to fight DC. And we won't even get to that yet. So, but, man, I don't know. I think I'm on the fence. Rashad has nothing to lose, though. I think the pressure's on Bader. He has the fight win streak. Oh man, I don't know who to take on this. I'm gonna go on the limb. I'm gonna go with Rashad. I'm gonna go with Rashad. I know it's probably not the smartest choice, but I think he's gonna come in. And you know, I'm not real certain about this, so yeah. But I'm gonna go with Rashad anyway. So in any case, it'll be an interesting fight. I just hope it's a good fight. Like I said, hope it's a good fight. I can't always be right, nor do I care if I'm always right. That's just what I feel on my pick based upon statistics and previous fights and whatnot and, you know, activity of the fighters. Anyways, co-main event, another very close fight in my mind. Johnny Hendricks against Tyron Woodley. I would say Hendricks has probably fought a slight bit more higher competition than Woodley. Not that Woodley has fought all cans, because that's definitely not the case. But I don't know, ever since Hendricks lost that split decision to GSP, which arguably he won, Uncle Dana thought he won, and honestly, I thought he won too. If you went by pride rules, Hendricks won that all day long, man. You look at the damage that GSP took compared to the damage that Hendricks took. But you know what? That's so old, we're not even going to get into that. But what I will say about that, ever since that fight, he hasn't looked the same. He did win the belt against Lawler after that fight. But before, he was just like this wrecking machine coming in, knocking people out like Martin Kampman, John Fitch, just this big, huge power and embracing the name Diesel. And as of late, he just doesn't look the same. Woodley, on the other hand, he's looking better and better. His fight against Condit, you know, we didn't get to see that play out all the way, but the other, you know, the Gastelum fight, Gastelum, however you pronounce it, that was kind of iffy. I don't know. It's going to be, like I said, these are some close matchups. I would love to see Woodley win, and I'll tell you why in a moment. Although I think I'm going to pick Hendricks, I think this is going to remotivate him. He's pissed off that he is getting overlooked right now to get the title shot. So I'm going to pick Hendricks. But I want Woodley to win, and the reason why is because Condit is going to fight Lawler coming up in January, I believe, because it got postponed from November to January, and I want to see that rematch between Condit and Woodley. So if Woodley wins and then Condit beats Lawler, that sets up the rematch, and I think that sets up Woodley to be #1 contender anyway, so that would make the most sense. That's what I like to see play out, but in all honesty, I have to go with Hendricks on this fight. I think I'm going to give him the slight edge. Now, the main event. Alexander Gustafsson against DC Cormier. You know, DC Cormier, he's a local boy. He trains at AKA right here in San Jose, which is not far from where I live and do the show. Alexander Gustafsson, though, I've liked this kid forever. For years, he's been one of my favorite fighters. I don't know why. I don't know why I gravitated towards him, but I've always liked his style for whatever reason. I think this is really going to show whether DC is a true champion or not. A lot of people doubt him. I'm not saying that I doubt him. I really want Gustafsson to win this fight, but I think I have to give the edge to Cormier. I mean, the only person he's lost to is Jon Jones, and we've seen him come over some serious adversity over Rumble. I mean, he got rocked that first round when he was fighting Rumble when he won the belt. So to overcome that, I mean, Rumble has some power behind his punches. He comes back, ends up winning that fight. So it's going to be hard for Gustafsson to beat DC. He's going to have to really use his range. The problem is DC is good at getting in, and he's powerful as a wrestler, so he has no problem taking different people down. Jon Jones is a whole different beast. I know he had problems against him, but dude, I'm telling you right now, test Jon Jones for alien blood, because that dude's not human, man. He's legit. I mean, he did have a pretty competitive fight against Gustafsson. They're very similar in height and length and style. So that was one of the greatest fights ever in UFC light heavyweight history, excuse me. But I do see DC getting the nod, although it's the same thing as the co-main event. I will go with DC, but I really want to see Gustafsson take it. But that's how, we'll just have to see how it plays out. This card's great. There's some other great fights on there. I can't get into all of them, but there's definitely some great matchups. So in any case, I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you so much for supporting and loving us, me, the show, whatever it is, this thing that I do every week. Whatever. That's how we do it. You have a great night, day, morning. Peace out.